Broadcasting to Stoke-on-Trent and the world. This is Six Towns Radio.
Right, we're going over to the telephones. It is Bossons about, and I've got a brilliant guest. It's my pleasure to have on the telephone from Deacon Blue, Ricky Ross. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi Terry, nice to be here.
Yes, you're coming over to Stoke on September 11th to play some songs here. I don't think you've ever been to Stoke as a band before.
I don't think we have. I think I probably popped into town to do some promotion maybe way back, but I don't think I've ever we've done a gig there. So it's good to break new ground.
Yeah, well, exactly. You're going to play so many places on this tour, and probably a lot of them you've never been to. So, it's give you the chance, because you have got a fan base that spans out that far. They all want to come see you, and it saves you going, a bit further afield to catch you. Yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, Stoke's not far from anywhere, is it? It's quite central, so I'm sure people can come and see us. So that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, so many people excited. When it was announced, I know there's so many fans around here, because you were one of the biggest bands of the late 80s and 90s, 6 million albums sold, but it wasn't instant success for you though, was it? Everyone thinks it was, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, because we kind of worked our way, around the country. In fact, probably playing in I'm pretty well, now I'm thinking back to it, I'm thinking we did play in Stoke. In the really early days we played at one of the polys or the university or whatever it was one night. So we did play, that's probably the last time we ever played in Stoke. But we did play, around every kind of gig in the UK, it seemed, for a while, and just slowly, we just built an audience up, and then we finally got some tracks that radio started playing, and that built up really. It was I think we 87 we came out with our first record. 88 it probably took off a bit more, but I think all the audiences that we met in these early days, that was a really crucial thing, because you keep that audience with you, because they're really committed to coming out and seeing you and discovering you.
Yeah, a lot of people heard of you from Real Gone Kid onwards, but, on the success of Real Gone Kid, and then when the album came out, When the World Knows Your Name, Raintown got re-released and got back in the charts as well.
Yeah, I mean, the people bought the Raintown really on the strength of hearing Real Gone Kid, and I think they went into the shops and they thought, wow, we need to buy a Deacon Blue record, but the only album that was about was Raintown, so it got a kind of look in because of that, really.
Yeah, it was really, really exciting times for you. And Real Gone Kid was one of Wayne Rooney's favourite songs as well, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I know. That's why we heard all about that, and that's fine as long as he's not going to score any goals against Scotland. So as long as it just goals for England against other people, then we don't mind.
But it was just a very popular song, and of course you went away for a bit, and then you came back last year after an absence of 11 years, and how much had the music scene changed for you?
Well, I think enormously. I think the landscape had changed. We, obviously hadn't not been involved in music. I've been doing solo stuff and other projects, but yeah, I mean, the music scene has really changed hugely. I mean, if records were selling well, singles weren't selling when we started, but albums are still, people were buying albums still in large numbers, and obviously the whole download thing hadn't happened. So, there's a huge change in music, and it's taken the music business a long time just to catch up with how to best serve, to sell music really, and how we can all be paid from doing it. But the thing that's probably managed to keep its head above water is live thing. I mean, most people still don't want to come out and see gigs, and they want to come out and spend money at gigs, which is great. It's fantastic. So that's been good. But yeah, I mean, in terms of records, how people hear records, how people hear music, how people get their music, and how people buy their music, it's just changed utterly. So you've just got to adapt and change, and that's the way of the world. But unfortunately, there's a whole new generation of kids now that think music's just a free thing. You just get it, and it arrives on your iPod mysteriously sent from someone else, and that we've got to kind of fight that a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely got to change that, because I've talked about this, about everything changing, how everyone goes out, that's how they thought it's always been, but it changes every decade, everything changes. With the music business, like for Deacon Blue, you were signed to 3 big majors, and now a lot of bands have to fight for themselves. Record companies do sign them, but it's not anywhere near the same as how it used to be.
No, it's not, and there's no point kind of getting upset about it because it's not going to change. It's not going to go back to that. So I think you've got to go with that and just accept the world as it is at the moment. And we're fortunate. We've been lucky. We've had good relationships with new labels and that work very well for us. So we're feeling okay about that.
Brilliant. You've also got a talent for writing as well. You've worked with some great people, James Blunt, Ronan, Will Young, to name three. Is that something that just flows from you?
I like writing songs. I got into this business really because I wanted to write songs. Writing the song was the start of everything for me. It was, why do I do it? Because I want to write songs. That's kind of how I always imagine myself. And when everything else is gone, songwriting's the thing I will sit up and do naturally. I probably wouldn't naturally maybe even go out and play a gig, but I think I would always go out and want to play a song. And what would get me wanting to play a gig is doing a new song. I thought, I've got a new song, I'd like to play it to people. So that's my whole raison d'etre really of being involved in music. And I love it, and it's great to write for yourself. It's nice to do both things. It's great to do both things if you have enough time to do both things. And little other writing projects come along and they're interesting. So I'm always involved in an aspect of songwriting in one way or another.
I suppose when you were growing up, I assume that you listened to Baccarat and David, obviously, and listened to soul music. You're probably listening to some great songwriters, and I suppose that inspired you a little bit as well.
Yeah, growing up at the back end of the 60s, when you were coming out of the Beatles times, they were songwriters, and that was what was special about the Beatles. The people could say, oh, they're not very talented or whatever. Older people would sort of, you don't want to make disparaging remarks about pop music. But they quickly realised, wait a minute, these guys are artists. They're making music. They're writing songs that Frank Sinatra sings. You can't deny that. They're writing songs that everyone's singing. Everyone's loving these melodies, and so. That was the thing that really, I think, probably, got people to sit and take notice. The fact that they could write, they could play, they could sing, and they did amazing things. I think that was our starting point. That was my starting point with songwriting. Was them, and of course, as you say, people like Baccarat and David, and then you discover people like Rodgers and Hart, and so on and so forth. But it was really songwriters that were, and Dylan. They cast a big shadow over our whole generation.
Yeah, you paid homage to Baccarat and David. Your version of I'll Never Fall in Love Again was amazing. And you got a chance to meet Hal David before he sadly passed away, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I met him maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, just a tribute night for his 90th that ASCAP put on in London. And I sang I'll Never Fall in Love Again to him and his wife. And it was a really lovely night. He was on great form. It was a lovely night. And we got chatting, and he was very healthy. And I think after he'd returned to the States, then soon after that he'd taken ill, and he actually died within a few months of that night. So it was really special to know that we'd spent that night with him.
Yeah, it must have been amazing knowing that he'd asked you after you covered one of his songs.
Yeah, no, he wrote me a lovely letter actually after we did the song as well, which I kept and I will always keep. And he's a real gentleman.
Yeah. I know you're quite good on social media. Again, you've had to adapt with this, and you quite like that. But I couldn't imagine back in the 80s, the pop stars of the 80s sending a message out to the world like they do now.
Yeah, well, I think you have to. Yeah, I think again, you have to, and you can't. The music business was really faulty and not embracing the internet and feeding it. I think you can't do that. And Facebook gives you a chance to get messages out directly. You don't have to go through the press. You don't have to go through radio. You can go directly to your audience, and on the web you can do that if you target it correctly. Equally, you also get messages straight back, so you have to, in a sense, deal with that a little bit. Yeah. You can't possibly respond to everything. You get amazing people saying, "Oh, maybe it would be great if you could do this, you could do that," and you can't respond to them all. There is this nice two-way thing, and you get a quick reaction to things as well. You put a new song up, you can get a reaction to it, so it's good.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just want to thank you for coming on the phone today. It's been really interesting talking to you today, Ricky.
My pleasure.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.